Welcome to Fix My Business. We're going to build some automations today. And really what we're going to do is we're really going to go back and we're going to begin to build out some automations, but not in the way that you think, right? Like not in the way that most people start to build out automations because they do it wrong. Most automation projects go completely wrong. They really do. And they go wrong because we attempt to do it in the wrong order. Look, I've been doing business automation for a very long time for my business. And look, I'm going to show you some of the rabbit holes that I've gone down. But what we're going to do is we're going to do something different in tonight's stream, because tonight I'm going to take an actual business problem that my team had. I'm going to relive it with you. I'm going to show you what we did to change it and how we built a system that was way better. And the one thing that I'm not going to really talk about tonight that you would expect from an automation video is I'm not going to talk about the tools. Because see, the tools and approaching the tools is the wrong way to automate your business. Now, if you go look at any other YouTube channel that's talking about business automation, they will all talk about the tools, this tool and that tool. I don't talk about tools because tools are not the right order to even talk about. People will show you how they create their Zap or they create the whatever. We're not doing that. We're not doing that tonight because you cannot create anything in terms of automating your business until you do one thing. And that is you have to build the system first. You have to build a process that works. Because if you build the process that doesn't work, guess what? You are going to be in pain. See, a lot of people think that automation is going to solve their business problems. It won't. It will not. Automation will bring chaos faster. It will amplify the chaos in your business. So the last thing that I want to do is automate my business. And that is contrarian to what everybody else tells you. And I'm a tech guy. I love technology. And I want to use technology in my business, but I want to use it in the right order. I'm not just automating to automate. And we're going to go through the process that I use over and over and over again to automate my business. I don't care if it's the latest, hottest technology like OpenClaw or whatever else AI everybody's talking about today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I always follow the same exact pattern. And if there's one thing I hope that you take away from that today is that, hey, before we go jump into a tool, we want to say time out. Let's build the system first. Because when you don't, you get trapped into certain things. And, well, I'm going to show you what happened. So let me tell you what happened. And I'm trying to get this. I had this screen set up. And then guess what? When it was set up, all of a sudden it like died on me too, right as I went live here. And so I'm going to come back into this control room so I can also see if you have comments, etc. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I can now see your comments over there. I thought I could see the comments over here too, but I guess I cannot. So I will have to look in two places. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's what happened. Here's what happened in my business. For years, for my other channel, which is the Landmodo channel, youtube.com/Landmodo, for years and years and years, we have used, what we do is we feature properties of the week over there, okay? And to make it easy for the viewers, what we do is we use a short code. If you're not familiar with the short code, it's basically instead of saying like landmodo.com/properties/ whatever, we give them a very short code website and then a number. Okay, so the most common company that does this is the company called Bitly. Bitly. And why is my quality so bad? Like, it says my quality is 720. What's going on with 720? It's supposed to be going at 1080p. Okay, that's a different story for a different day. So anyway, for years we've been using Bitly, bit.ly. And what happened was when I started the channel and I realized I need a short code to solve this problem, I jumped on and bought a tool. Immediately, I just bought a tool. Boom, bought the tool. The thing I'm telling you not to do now. That's what I did 4 years ago. Just bought the tool. Here you go. And in order to make it fancy, because I didn't want to have every one of my short codes say bit.ly/a number, I wanted to be more branded to my company. I bought their plan, whatever the pricing is. It's not expensive. It's, $30-$40 a month, something like that. So I bought the plan. And with the plan, guess what you get? You get a custom domain. So I bought the plan. And I got my custom domain, lmodo.ws. Man, that was a short code. That was fancy. LMODO.WS. That's what we did. So we used this tool, and the way that it would work in my business, and I'm going to draw this out for you. I'm not going to sit here and talk the whole night. I am, but I'm going to draw it out so you can see it too. What happened was we were using this tool to do our short codes. And it works fine. I never thought twice about it. But here's what would happen. Here's the way that it would work. Let me make sure I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. Look at this. Okay. So the way that it would work is on Wednesday of every week, on Wednesday, one of my team members, his name is Kim. Kim would jump on and spring into action, right? Like he had to remember every Wednesday to go do this task. That's a problem that I'm going to come back to in a minute, but Kim did this every Wednesday. And what he would do is he would go into our tool that we use, not the Bitly thing. He would go into our tool and he would download a CSV file. He would take that CSV file and he would log into Bitly. He would upload the CSV file, and Bitly would go to town doing what it does. And he would also have to choose during that upload process that he wanted the short code to be this one. Okay, so he had to tell it, hey, when you upload the file, make sure you use this short code. Now, throughout the years, we learned that, yeah, you got to change this, because what happened was there was so many times where we uploaded, because again, it's manual, where we uploaded this whole thing. And sometimes we got this one. If we chose the wrong one, we got the wrong one. Go figure that. Now, this is a very simple process. It really is a very simple process. It's not automated at all. You saw that it's completely manual. And what it required is that it required a couple of things that are terrible for bulletproof systems. There are some things that you just do not want to do when it comes to system creation. So I want you to see the flaws with this system as it is today. Number one flaw is that the trigger was somebody's memory. I have to do this on Wednesday. When you have a process where the trigger is memory, that is a terrible trigger. That is a terrible process. It is ripe to be broken, right? Like if you're relying on your own memory or your team member's memory, that process, it's flawed. Now you might say, set an alarm, put it on his clock, make a to-do list every Wednesday. You got to do this. Yeah, easier said than done. Okay, it'll work. It will take a person who's extremely disciplined to execute on that memory. Things happen, man. Business days happen. Life happens, things happen. But I want you to notice this, that this was reliant on somebody's memory to do this every Wednesday as part of his job. Man, what happens if something happened to him? It wouldn't get done. What if he forgot? And he did forget. He forgot a few times. Look, he's not in trouble for it. I would have to catch and go, hey, did you do that? Oh, I'm doing it now. Oh, man, not a great system. See, it was enough, but it wasn't fantastic. But this is the way that we hobbled along. This is what we did. It became just another process. And I'm a big believer that within your organization that you can spend too much time kind of over building systems and over optimizing things. And I never want to do that. I never want to do that. Can you think of, and throw it in the chat, can you think of a process that you've over optimized? You've tried to refine it over and over and over and over again. And then it's like, man, I spent way too much time on this. I've spent 55 hours to automate something that takes me 5 minutes a week. Can you guys relate to that? So what we do in my company is we're always looking for ways in which we can improve our processes. We're always looking for ways in which we can do this. And I think that in all of the work that I've ever done with companies and business owners on automation, what happens is when you talk about automation, everybody thinks that, oh, automation is going to move work from here all the way to the finish line completely with technology. No humans. And if you look at all the hypesters out on YouTube today that are talking about AI and AI agents and everything, it's all AI. It's all technology. No humans in the loop. It's not necessarily realistic. But work doesn't work that way. Generally, work does not move from here to the end in one stream of flow. It has stops along the way. And you can kind of see that there were stops along the way because I told you that Kim would have to log into this other system to download this CSV file. So he would download it, he would go into this other system, download that file, and then move to another system. But this data sat here for days. So it wasn't this stream of, work that's just flowing. It's work that would come, sit for a minute, and then somebody would come and do something and then move it down the path a little bit further. And the way that I always think about systems and processes, I think about them in terms of, think about a football game. If you've watched a football game, and I pick on football because football is, like soccer is fluid. It rarely stops. Hockey is fluid. Football, you run a play, you reset. You run a play, you reset. You rarely go all the way from your own 20-yard line to score a touchdown. It's rare. It happens, but it's rare. To score a touchdown, it's normally a sequence of plays running back to back to back. Some plays get you further along. Sometimes you lose yardage. Sometimes you break even. Sometimes the work doesn't move. Sometimes it just moves a couple of yards. That's the way that work really works in companies. You know that. You know that. So what's happening here in this particular situation is I've got a flaw because number one flaw is memory. The second flaw is that someone, Kim, had to upload a file to this other service. So a human in the loop in this case created a problem. So back in December, a couple months ago, Kim did his job. It was a Wednesday. He went and he executed on his task. He logged in. He downloaded the CSV file. He went over to my friend Bitly's website. He uploaded the file. He chose the right domain, the short code, the El Modo. He did it all. He did it all flawlessly. The problem is that the file was corrupted. Is that his fault? No, it's not his fault. I don't know how the file got corrupted. The file got corrupted. Somehow, some way, the file was corrupted. So what happened here is that this corrupted file did not create the shortcodes. And then we went live on our video. And I started telling people, like, hey, go to this shortcode. And people started responding. It doesn't work. These don't work. We got a lot of responses. We got emails. Our support team was inundated with emails. Like, the shortcodes don't work. What's going on? So the first thing that you think of as a business owner is who didn't do their job. So I went and researched it. Did he do his job? Yeah, he did his job. Yeah, I could see the file was up there. It was uploaded, but it said corrupted. So then I started wondering, like, well, why did we not catch this? Like, is that his fault to catch it? You could say it was his fault. He should have caught it. He should have saw that it was corrupted. But that's a little unrealistic, I think. Look, I probably would have waited to see if it was corrupted or not. But if it's never been corrupted, you just don't know. And it hadn't been corrupted in the past. So he didn't hang around to see if it was corrupted. He saw that it was uploaded. He went off on his way. Because it's not instant either. It takes a minute to get this thing. And then I started wondering, like, hey, why did we not know this? Why did we not know that the file was corrupted? What happened? So I started digging into it, and guess what happened? They told us that the file was corrupted in an email. They sent the account owner an email that said, hey, your file is corrupted. Do it again. You know who the account owner is, right? Who? Me. The problem is that I rarely live in my email. I have my email highly filtered because I get so much spam and I get so much stuff that it's almost next to impossible to get my email. I've got an assistant that looks at this email. I've got actually 2 assistants that look through this email for these things. So should they have caught it? Maybe. But look, every week we get an email from this company that says this message. It says, some of your links didn't work. And every week we ignore the message. And the reason that it says that it doesn't work every single week is because when you upload a file and that number, that property number is already on file and the shortcode has already been created, it doesn't override it. It rejects it. It says, no, you can't use this one again. So every week we get a report, an email that says some of your links didn't work. We got to the point where we don't even open the email anymore. The team just looks at it and says, know what it is, archive it. Except in this one situation. See, this time it was different. Now, I'm telling you this story, but this is not even, a life and death process. This is not a mission critical process. And it was fixable. It was completely fixable because all we had to do was re-download the file again, re-upload it. It was a 5-minute fix after the fact. Now, what it didn't do is it didn't take into consideration any of the lost potential. Because look, there are some people that even we told them like, hey, it's working now, they're just not going to go back. Now, when you have a problem in your business, what I find happens with most people is that they get this problem in their business, they identify the problem with their business, and then do you know what they do? They just do what I did. They do what I just told you we did, which is they fix the problem. it's a simple fix. We just re-upload the file and it's over. Like, re-upload the file. And we're golden. We did that. We fixed it. The inclination is to move on. The human nature says the problems are solved. I don't need to linger here anymore. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just go. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to go. Move on to the next problem. And if you own a business, you know that this small little problem is just like a little speed bump in your day because there's 99 other problems. And this is just one of them. So the human tendency as a business owner or as an employee or a team member, the human tendency here is to take this problem, solve it, and move on with life, not to think twice about it. But this is where we do things differently here. This is where in my organization we do things differently, and this is where I want you, I'm hoping to sway you into doing something different tonight too. You see, when I chose this solution back in the day, I fell into a trap. I'm going to call it a moat. I fell into the software company's moat, and I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. But every good company has a moat. You've heard this before. I hope you've heard before. Every company has a moat. A moat from competitors. And if it's a really good company, it's a moat to keep the customers in. The moat can keep your competitors out, and the moat can keep your customers in. And that's what my friends over here at this one company that I've already said a few times, they're really good. Software companies are really, really good at creating a moat that keeps you in. And this is why I'm anti-tool first. I want you to pause and think about situations and map them out before we jump into tools, because software is expensive. And I see from a lot of business owners, I see that the software expense is just ballooning. Now, there's some good news too, because if you understand some AI and some vibe coding and some other stuff, well, then you now have the ability of creating your own software and your own dashboards. And I think that that's where software is going. But in the meantime, we also want to be careful of the tools that we're using so that we don't get stuck in a moat. So let me show you what happened with this moat. Let me show you what their moat is, okay? So the moat is this thing right here. This thing right here. The elmoto.ws. Because for 4+ years, I have done hundreds of YouTube videos where I have given out this shortcode. I have promoted this thing like crazy. And the flaw here on my part, not on their part, but you know, if they have their empire over here, they have their empire. And this is their moat. One of their moats is that custom domain. See, they own that custom domain. I can't buy it from them. They own it. And 4 years ago, when I just jumped into the tool first, I thought, oh, I have this problem. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to buy this tool. Oh, yeah, I do want that custom domain. I'm going to pay the money every single month. So I get more short codes and more of this and more of that. And I get that custom domain. And they make it super, super easy to connect it with their system. I think I could have brought in my own domain. But it was easy. I just chose theirs. And look, this is not expensive either. It's like $400 a year or something like that. It's not even about the money. And look, I don't fault this company at all. I don't fault them one bit. They're geniuses. I fault myself because I should have paused and designed a system that worked better back in the day than to build a system that is driven by someone's memory, that has the potential to upload a corrupted file, that gets me locked into something that, how do I ever get out of it? That's on me as the business owner. That's on me as the automator. It's on me to do this. But let's go back to December. See, back in December, when this flaw happened, the corrupted file happened, and we fixed it, where most people would just move on with life and go attack the next problem. In my organization, we do something different. In my organization, when we identify a flaw in a system, we record it. We take out a worksheet. I call it the automation loop worksheet. We take out the worksheet, and we don't have to fill the whole thing out. But what we need to do is we need to capture what happened. What happened? Something broke. What happened? And if you're not stopping and capturing the broken things in your business, then you're just going to bypass them, and then they're going to go out and they're going to break again in the future. I want you to write this down. Write this down for me. Write it on a piece of paper. Grab your phone. I don't care what you have. I want you to write this down right now. Ready to write it down? Here it is. If it breaks once and we don't fix it, it will break again. You're like, yeah, I know that. You and I know that. But so many business owners, because they're just running, man. They're running and gunning. And their teams are running and gunning, that they don't stop and capture what's broken. Airline pilots. Airline pilots are flying a plane, and they're going from, I don't know, Tampa to Los Angeles, and something happens to the plane, something acts unusual, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be like, the bathroom door doesn't lock. So when they land, what the crew does is they write up the issues. They're called squawks. So they write up the squawks. Now, not everything needs to be fixed right then in that given moment. If it's not an urgent situation, they don't need to have it looked at right now. But they need to know that something happened. They need to capture it. Because if they didn't capture it, well, then how do they know that it's not going to happen again? Or the next crew that comes in, how do they know that, this happened the last time? Yeah, this is how we fixed it, or it just fixed itself, or, hey, the bathroom's out of order. Would they stop? If the bathroom door just doesn't lock correctly, are they going to not fly the plane on the next trip? Or are they going to be like, hey, we got to shut this bathroom down. We got to close it off. You can't use this bathroom. Sorry for the inconvenience. They're not going to not fly the plane just because a bathroom door doesn't work. But it's noted somewhere so that maybe when it gets to its destination at the end of the night and the maintenance crews come out in force and they're like, what do we have to fix tonight? Oh, we got to fix the bathroom door. It's been broken all day. See, if they didn't capture that, if they didn't stop and capture that, then they wouldn't know what to fix next. By the way, I didn't just tie that in because that's the name of the book. Fix this next for real estate investors. That would have been really, really good. It just came across that way. But you see, here's the thing. What I want you to do is I want you to get into the habit of capturing the flaws that you have within your organization. And look, they may or may not ever be actionable. Just because you write it down on a form does not necessarily mean that you're going to fix it right now, you're going to fix it tomorrow, you're going to fix it ever. But if you're not writing down, this broke, if you don't have some capture system that says this broke, it's going to break again. And then something else is going to happen and it's going to break. So within my organization, I want to capture these things. And again, like I said, they're not always actionable right then and there. And in fact, the whole situation with this corrupted file was not actionable right then and there. It wasn't. It would be silly to say that it was, right? Because the problem was solved. We solved it. We uploaded a new file and we solved the problem. But because we captured it, and I have a drawer filled with these capture forms, when we had the time and we were looking over like, hey, where's the opportunities to fix our systems next? We were able to identify, hey, that broke. How can we make it better? Now, remember I told you it was something that was completely manual. He had to remember every Wednesday, he had to remember to do it. And I also told you that when something is manual, it is prime real estate to break, okay? Like a manual trigger is a terrible trigger. And look, there's 4 triggers in a business. There are 4 triggers of every workflow. Here they are. Time. It's Monday at 8 a.m. It's Thursday at 7 p.m. By the way, if you came here because you got an email from me telling you that I was going to go live, that email was supposed to go out at 6 o'clock today, not 5 o'clock. It went out at 5 o'clock. Somebody messed up. They messed up. I'm not going to point fingers. It was AI that messed up. But that's a different story. That's a completely different story. But it's noted. See, I noted it. I'm not going to try to fix it today. The next time I do a live stream video like this, I will make sure it's working right because it's noted. I'm not going to forget it. So I noted that problem back in December. Christmas happened, holidays, and then one Saturday, I'm here at the office, and I took out my form, and I'm like, what are we focusing on next? We have an open slot. What am I going to focus on next? What can we fix in our process? And I came across this one, the short code problem. It was still working flawlessly, no problem with it. But because I'm always looking for a way to improve the organization and a way to improve our work, I came across and I said, hey, that's it. I'm going to fix this one today. So let me show you what I did. Because again, I didn't just jump into a tool. I followed a methodology. And the methodology I followed is what I call scale. Okay? So here's the methodology that I follow. Scale. And I always say like build with scale. Scale is the scope. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to fix the entire workflow. Because remember what I told you. You know, if you think about this in football, I'm not trying to go from the 20-yard line. I'm not trying to go from my 20-yard line to score a touchdown. That's not what I'm trying to do. When I talk about scope, what I'm trying to understand is, hey, what is it that I want to do? I want to move from system 1 to short codes automatically. Too many T's there. I want to move from system 1. I want to move from the data is here, and I want to get short codes over here automatically. I don't want anybody to have to upload this thing. I don't want anybody to have to touch it. And I don't want anybody to have to remember. I just want the dang thing to work. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m., I want this thing to happen like clockwork. So with my scope written, I now know that I'm not trying to boil the ocean. I know that I'm not trying to solve the entire process here. I'm trying to solve a specific aspect of this. The C of scale is clarify the flow. What does that mean? Clarify the flow. Well, when we talk about the flow, what I'm really thinking about is, hey, how does this work? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to draw a playbook here. So in my mind, what I want to happen is I want a trigger Wednesday at 8 a.m. I want something to go into system 1. Download that file. Go into some shortcode system. Upload the file. Give me the shortcodes. This is what I want. Very, very linear. This is what I want. Again, I'm not trying to boil the ocean. I'm not trying to run the entire play to a touchdown. It's a very short segment here. I want to solve this one workflow issue. So very, very clear, very, very concise, very, very focused. And notice what I did here. Notice, I'm just calling it system 1 because this is where the data is. I'm trying not to name systems and stuff because I don't want you to get hung up on the tool. But I want a shortcode. I need some data uploaded in the shortcode system. And then I just want shortcodes, man. I just want something that just says nobody has to touch anything. I'm a very technical person. I've said that twice now. I'm a very technical person. So I love kind of, messing with this stuff, automation stuff. So what I do, I put on my automation hat. I took off the business owner's hat, and I started thinking through, okay, what is it that we're trying to do here? Can I go use this same tool that I'm paying $35 a month for? Can I go use this tool and somehow, some way, just maybe use an API and make it work? And I couldn't. And the reason you couldn't is because the API, while it allows you to upload files, it doesn't allow you to select your custom domain. So then I'm like, well, then we have to go in and manually do it. That defeats the whole purpose, right? That's not what I want. I want something that just works. I just want something that works. And look, again, it's not about the $400 a year or whatever it works out to be. That is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, if something just works, it's worth it to me because I get a return on investment and whatever. But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think that most people miss is that just because you want to automate your business and you don't necessarily know how, maybe you do know how, or maybe you're like, I don't know how to do this stuff, but I want to. There are people out there, there are professionals out there that can help you do it. There are professionals out there that enjoy this stuff, that will work with you and help you. And they're really not that expensive. Depending on what the task is, et cetera, it might cost you some money. But that's the thing is, if it's saving you time, saving you money, or making sure something happens in your business, you're going to get that positive return on investment. That's just the way that it works. Okay? So here we go. We now have this flow. I've got this flow here. And again, I'm not necessarily trying to solve the problem of the tool or how this thing's going to work yet. What I'm simply doing is saying, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is how I'm trying to accomplish this thing. So I've got an S, a C, A, because this is scale. We're building with scale up here. The A is automate the trigger. Do you remember what I've been saying? That the worst trigger possible is a manual trigger. It is the worst because you are reliant on a person. You are reliant on somebody. You're reliant on them being at work on a given day. You're reliant on them remembering. You're reliant on them not having a bad day. Even if they're in the office, you're reliant on the fact that they're going to do that before some life emergency calls them out of the office that day. It is a terrible. Manual processes where the trigger's manual are terrible. Sometimes we have to use them. I hate them because they're not consistent. They're not reliable. And again, there's 4 triggers. Time. That's a trigger. Wednesdays at 8 a.m. That's a trigger. Okay? An event is a trigger. What's an event? My customer submits a form on my website that starts or kicks off a workflow. That's an event. Somebody else does something. That's an event. Okay? Somebody buys something from my website. That's an event. Somebody does something. Somebody sends me an email that they want to become a client of mine. That inbound email could be an event too. So now we have this event. We have a time trigger, an event trigger. We have a condition trigger, and we have manual. 4 triggers. And of course, you can combine these in some way. Hey, if the form is submitted at this time of day or with this condition, then do this. So we can combine these conditions and these triggers to be other things. But what is a conditional trigger? Conditional trigger could be something as simple as it's going to be 90 degrees outside today. That's a condition. The balance equals this. That's a condition. The number of days since I've been paid is a condition. It's not an event. It's a condition. Some condition has been met. Every day I get a report from my bank of all the bank balances, and they let me set that up. They're like, hey, you just go in there and set up an alert, and they'll text it to me or they'll email it to me, and they'll say, what condition do you want? And I say, well, if the balance is above 0, then alert me. And every day I get a report of the bank balances based on a condition being over $0. Now the bank also uses that as a trigger because they say we are going to run this alert system at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. every day. Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They don't do it on Sunday. They don't do it on Monday because there's no bank activity on those days, and we don't do it when there's a holiday. So while it's a banking day or the day after a banking day, at 6 a.m. they run, that's their trigger, they run that, and they meet my condition to send me the report. See, that's another way of thinking about this, okay? So we want to figure out how we can automate the trigger. SCA, let's go to L. Leverage the data. What do I mean by that? Leveraging the data occurs when you get a positive or negative confirmation that the process actually worked, that the automation actually worked. Positive or negative confirmation that the automation worked. Hey, let's go back to my bank balance situation. The bank balance says it met the condition. The positive confirmation is the fact that I get an email. The negative is that I get no email, and that's probably the worst thing if you don't ever hear from it. If there's a flaw, you don't hear from it. So when I build a system, when I build an automation, what I want is something to say, this worked, or this did not work. So how are we going to classify that? What do we want that to be? You don't have to do a positive and a negative. I like the positive and negative. I want to know when something works, and I want to know when something doesn't work. But when we leverage the data, what we're doing is we're leveraging the system to tell us what we want back. Positive or negative confirmations. The last step here, the E, elevate the experience. Now, elevate the experience that I have down here. You can't see it. There we go. Elevate the experience. What that means is that what I want you to do is I really want you to think about kind of what that communication looks like. Because if you're communicating to a customer, does it sound robotic? Because look, automations can make things sound robotic. You know when something is written by AI, you know when something is written as a form letter may not be what you really want. So is that the experience that you want to have your customers to have if it is customer facing? More than that, is it something that is actionable for you if it's internal? Let me give you an example. Just the other day, we had an automation that we created. We created this automation, and it started breaking. And I went to bed. All was fine. I woke up, and I looked at my phone, and I had a bunch of notifications that said, it was about every 30 minutes, and it said, Signal 9 alert, Signal 9 alert. Every 30 minutes, it was a Signal 9 alert. I was like, what the heck is a Signal 9 alert? So I put on my techie hat. I went and Googled it. Actually, I went to AI and asked, what's a Signal 9 alert? I don't even know what this is. And I said, oh, it's a memory issue. Your computer's using too much memory. You should probably restart your computer. Now, isn't that a much better explanation? Can you imagine, getting an email from somebody that says, Signal 9 alert, Signal 9 alert. And you're like, what is a Signal 9 alert? Oh, hey, restart the machine, free up some memory. I can do that. See, that's elevating the experience. It's not necessarily about sounding robotic or sounding, technical jargon or anything else like that. It's about sounding human again. So when I build automations in my business, or not just automations, because we're not even talking about the technology yet. When I build this stuff, I'm building with scale so that I think this thing through. What does success look like here? What does this flow look like? What is it that I want to happen? Right? Like, I want to be crystal clear with what we're doing here. And once I got that clarity, then we sit down and we try to design a system. Notice what I just said. We try to design a system. We're not trying to design an automation. We try to design a system that will work for our business. I want it to be clean. I want it to be crisp. I want it to have the right human interactions when needed. And I also want to have it to where there's no human interaction if not needed. Okay? So let me show you what we created. I'm going to show you what I did. I'm just a big fan. I'm a big fan of, swim lanes and stuff, okay? And if you're not sure what a swim lane is, it's basically, think about a swimming pool with all this stuff, like these lanes, right? Like, so think about this. Like, we have a lane here, we have another lane, and we have another lane, and heck, let's just go one more just in case I need it. There we go. So the way that this system is going to work is my user, I always put my actors over here. My user is going to go in there, and they're basically going to submit into System 1. You guys are like, what is System 1? What is that? Well, I really can't tell you. I know what it is. You can probably figure out what it is too, but it's not relevant. It really isn't relevant. So they go in and they basically make their submission. Okay? They hit submit. And then what happens is my next team here is marketing. Now, marketing used to take this over every Wednesday. They used to take this and run with it, but it was manual. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create an automated service that could go in I wanted to go in to this system, grab the data that it needed, bring the data back, and then put it into our own link shortener. Okay? Just literally go get the data, bring it back, and pass it into our own link shortener. And then tell my marketing team, done or alert. Very clear here. It's a very clean system. Very clean. And again, this is where me enjoying technology and working with technology, I was able to design my own link shortener. And look, with today, look, there's no secret. I used AI to build one. That's what I did. Is I literally told AI, this is what I want. Build it. But the reason that it worked here is because I spent the time to design the system. I spent the time to say, this is what I want. It gave me what I wanted. And again, you might say, Scott, I can't do that. I don't understand. I don't understand even what you're saying. That's fine. Because remember, there's people that can do this. The most important part of the process is not the outcome that you're seeing today or right now. What you're seeing is the most important part of the process is, number one, that you capture what's wrong. And then you either have to put on your technologist hat and go build the solution, or you need to work with somebody to go do that. And you might say, maybe I don't have a lot of money. You'll be surprised at people you can find to go do this stuff. You would be surprised at what automating something would cost you. It's not as much as what you might think it is. And it's not as hard, it's not as complicated. But the most important piece here is that you create a system of improvement. Because it's never about this individual automation that's here. It's about the underlying system that's there. And the way that the system that we created works is just what I told you. Our users submit their data into this system over here. We automated the trigger. Wednesday at 8 a.m., this thing fires up. This grabbing system fires up. It goes and gets the data. It brings it back. It doesn't even bring it back to the grabbing system. What it really does is it does this. This is wrong. It goes and gets the data and then brings it back to the shortener system that we created. And then it communicates again that it's done or that it's an error to the marketing team. Not to me. I don't need any alerts. I'm not responsible for the alerts if we deleted the one that caused this whole mess to begin with, or my team did. I'll take responsibility. I deleted it. Let's say I deleted it. It's okay. I stand behind it. When you see the same email over and over and over every week and you're like, no big deal, I've seen this a million times until this one's different, that's the way that it works sometimes. The way that you automate is you redesign the systems. You want them to be clean. You don't just want to jump into the pool and go choose a tool. And look, there's lots of off-the-shelf tools. And maybe you're like, well, I can't possibly design my own tool here to go do this. That's fair. And there's lots of off-the-shelf tools. But if you're going to go deploy those, you need to understand that with every tool comes an internal moat that you have to be aware of. Where are you going to be locked in? See, that link shortener service that I was telling you about, that I told you that I fell into their moat to keep me in there, I can't buy the domain from them. I tried. I was told it's not for sale. They own it. I built a large part of my business on a rented space. As the business owner, that's on me. Now, this story ends very happily, I think, because what happened was we built our own tool to do what we wanted. So today, when I'm out on YouTube and giving a short video, and in fact, you saw it in this email that I sent out, if you were on that email chain that I sent out, you saw the shorter service. It says elmodo.in. And guess who owns the elmodo.in domain? I do. I own that. It's mine. I also own my own shortening service because we created it. We created the tool that we wanted to have. That's another business asset, by the way. So now I own the domain. I'm not building on rented property anymore. I'm building on my own property, and that is a level of strength. I'm not subservient to the man anymore. Now, how do I get out of that mess over there of building on their property? And here's what it comes down to. Since we switched over, the number of uses of those short codes continues to decline. It's like going down, 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 down. It's like this, going down, okay? So we will reach a point in time in which it's next to nothing because we're starving the source of it, which was me continuing to promote it. And I think that over the next couple of months, it will reach a point where it's just next to nothing. And what my team has decided to do is that when we reach that point, we will go back into the videos where we've leveraged this and we will make a note. Changed. It's elmodo.in now. And people who get the error code that the domain is blown up and not working anymore, they may look at it or they may comment on the video and we can correct them or they'll email us. But at some point in time, the number of links being clicked on those old ones will die down to next to nothing. And at that point, we'll make the change. And again, whopping, we're saving $400 a year, something like that. Not anything that's, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do with the $400 a year. Buy a nice dinner, a super nice dinner for my family, maybe. But again, that's not the point. The point is that I wanted a system that would work like clockwork. I wanted a system that I could take the human element out of it and ensure that it worked. And again, if you have processes that are driven by manual triggers, those are the first ones that I want you to consider getting out and automating in your business. Okay? So that's the process that I use with my team. This is the process that we use to build things. And I'm going to continue to do live streams like this where I show you in real time what I'm building in my own business. I'm going to show you what we're building in technology even before we build it, in processes and improvements, because I'm going to build it with you. Because I think that this framework is so important to business owners that you continue to understand that, hey, there is a different way of doing it. Do not fear the hype. Do not fear. I talked to a business owner today. He told me, he said in the last few weeks where AI is coming out faster and faster and faster, he told me he couldn't sleep. He's so overwhelmed that he fears that he's going to be left behind, that he cannot sleep. He's got too much to do. But guess what? It's not going to get any better. The technology that's going to come at us is going to come at us so fast. It's just going to pick up speed more and more and more, that you have to hold a steady pace here with your business. And you cannot listen to all the people that are out there hyping AI and hyping automations. They're great stuff. But what you really need to do is you need to pause, build good systems that are automatable. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm making it a word. Automatable. Trademark that one. It's mine. If that's not a real word, it's mine now. That's the whole goal, is that you want to build systems first. Write that one down. Systems first. Systems beats automation. You cannot have good automation if you don't have good systems, okay? So here's my offer to you. If you got value out of this video and you're watching this thing, what happened? We got cut off. I got cut off.